You are a good man. You are a good man. I'm not playing. Seriously. And you were chasing good things. Marriage, career, life. You were chasing good things. And you were doing your part for this world. So why did we fail? I wanted a wife. I wanted a home. I did. I wanted a career. But why? Why did it fail? And this is something that I have struggled with and I have had to spend years trying to wrestle with it and figure it out. Because there is no way that marriage is a bad thing. There is no way that children are a bad thing, that a good career is a bad thing, that building a business or having a home, having a wife, these things are good. So how is it that I'm following what I've been told and from multiple sources, school and my parents and people at church and media? I tried to follow it, and not perfectly, but as I've heard, nobody does this stuff perfectly. Why did I fail so hard? I think that the problem is that I was chasing after good things, and I wasn't some, terribly flawed man in character. My character was all messed up, but that I was going by the wrong playbook. That the playbook that worked for this person doesn't necessarily work for me. And this is the bigger one. I think this is the bigger one, is that the playbook sets you up when you're getting the playbook from school and what is going to create great employees. That playbook is designed for that. And it's going to be given to you when you're 15 years old. And it works to a degree. It really does. It gets you in debt and so forth, but it gives you a life. That's not bad, right? It works. But as I've been wrestling with this, is like, so many of us are crashing out. I think there's a lot of assumptions made in the playbook that are not true or only work in a given circumstance. Like myself, I pursued marriage when I was 38 years old. It was the first time I'm gonna pursue marriage now. Maybe not quite that direct of a thought, but I wanted marriage because I saw others with it and it seemed good. And I like girls, and I would like to have marriage. It looks wonderful. But the playbook that I had, the rules that I was working with, was from somebody who is like 15 years old and now is interested in a girl. And it was a good playbook, actually, in this way, that you're not just dating for dating's sake. No, you're dating with purpose, with meaning, with value in life. You're dating for the purposes of getting married. So when you pick a young lady, you choose based on marriage. And take your time. You're 15 years old. You do not need to cement this relationship tonight, tomorrow, or next week. Take your time. And that was the playbook I was playing, which means at 15, you should not be looking at marriage until you're 18 years old. That's 3 years. When you're 38, 3 years is unnecessary. That means at 38, you're not going to be walking down the aisle until you're 41 years of age. And what's all that time for? Well, for the teenager, right? That teenager, I was going to say child, but whatever. That teenager, the reason for all those years of all that time is so that the teenager has time to see what this girl is like, and the girl gets to see what the boy is like, and go through the mistakes of, that happens, and figure each other out, and see, is this really going to be a match, and where do you want to go in life, and all of these things. It works. It makes sense. You 38 flipping years old, you know where you're going. You know a lot more of who you are. And the bigger thing is you can see character way faster. The playbook that I should have picked up, like as if it's for sale, but I should have gotten, would be a playbook for how do you build marriage when you're 38 years old? You have very little debt. How would you do this? What's the best way to do this? What if you're 50? What if you're 50 and you're flat on your back, and you've crashed out financially, relationships, career-wise? What playbook should be applied then? Should it be a playbook built on built for someone who is 15 years old? And I'm not trying to be funny, but I think a lot of the times that's exactly what we end up doing. Because we're like, well, how did I get get some kind of traction in life when I was younger or before? Like, where have I seen this before? And it's like, well, I went to school and I got a degree, and I got into a career, and it took me 20 years to go from age 15 to age 35, where I really started to come into my own. I was really like getting things figured out, and I was starting to make money. And by the time I was 40, like, that's a long time when you're 50. We need a playbook. We need a playbook that's going to work for us right here, right now. If you're 35 years old and you're like, wait a second, where this is going is not where I want to go. Don't go back to when you were 20. In my opinion, going back to when you were 20, I don't think that's the right idea. You need to get the information of, one, how to figure out a good life. Like, what makes a good life a good life? What life do you want? And then learn the best way to get there. And like, in my mind right away, if I hear debt, in order to get to where I want to go, boom, I'm rejecting that. Because, one, I'm not 15 years old. Look, if you were 15 years old and you got $20,000 into debt, you could start making money. And I wouldn't be, actually, check it out. A 15-year-old from 15 to age 18 could pay that off. Like, pay it off. You're 35 and you drop $20,000 of debt in your pocket, which is, in comparison to what most people are dealing with, is not much. It is harder. It just is. You can't just dedicate your money to just that. It's harder to do. I'm suddenly thinking to myself, but if you are in debt, like, dedicate your money to getting out of debt. Like, that's a big deal, right? But you would need to focus on your 35. I'm 50. What system, what information that I could implement into my life would get me to the life that I want and get those good things that I want? Because I think the major problem about how we ended up where we are is bad information. I'm calling it a playbook, right? But it's basically bad information that we then implemented into our lives. And so the information, like, go get into massive debt as a kid, and chase after a career that you eventually pay the debt off with eventually, to then get into debt for a house, to then get into debt for a car, to then get into debt for a wedding, to then get into, Lord have mercy. And I'm thinking that playbook ain't no good. We need to get better information. We need to get way better information. So going forward, right? I'm not going to be adopting the systems for wonderful individuals who are 20 years old. I'm not doing that. And I'm saying the word wonderful because I'm not disparaging young people. I was 20 once as well. Ain't nothing to hate there. But that playbook is for them. Those rules are for them. Instead, I'm gonna be adopting. I'm gonna be hunting for. I'm gonna be hunting for information that's gonna work for me right now. Like one of the things, like okay, here's. Like, I mean, I've already stated it, but I'm gonna state it now very specifically. Do not get into debt to get out of the situation you're in right now. That's going to take years to pay off. I mean, if it's going to take you 6 months, I'd be like, okay, you got something there. Maybe okay, 6 months guaranteed, 6 months, and you're going to actually do it. Like you would dedicate, and okay, that makes sense. Well, it'll take you 10 years. That debt had better be taking you to a place that is so amazing and so wonderful that it and guaranteed you're going to pay it off in 10 years, but you're going to be 100 times ahead of what that debt cost. You know, if I was making $100,000, but it cost me $10,000 to make $100,000, I think that there's a solid argument to be made there. But so many of us get into debt to get, like we borrow $10,000 to have $10,000, and that debt then has to be paid off by other things. And I don't think that works anymore. I don't think that works. So we should use the playbook. We should use the playbook that's going to work for our circumstances that we are in right now, and adopt the information that will help us here instead of some other playbook. And I think that's really why good people, good men, fail at good things in life. It's implementing information that actually does not work for us, does not benefit us in our circumstance.